Hi everyone, I'm coming to you from my house today to teach you math. And today in math we're going to do three things. First we'll do a warm-up, then we'll have a lesson, then we will do a page in our math journal, which you will post on Seesaw for your assignment. Now I'm going to share my screen so that you can see our warm-up for today. In order to do this warm-up, it's a good idea to get out your number grid. Remember, you have a number grid in the back of your math journal on the inside of the back cover. All right, our first warm-up question says count by fives from 0 to 25. You might be able to do this in your head, or you can use the number grid on the inside of your math journal. Next, it says to count by fives from 65 to 100. So use that number grid, find 65, and hop by fives from 65 to 100. The last question says to count by tens from 12 to 82. So remember, we count by tens by hopping up and down in columns on the number grid. So it was really helpful to have your number grid out while you were doing those warm-ups. And the last question said to go from 12, start at 12, and count by tens to 82. So hopefully you used your knowledge of columns on a number grid and showed 12, 10 more would be 22, 10 more would be 32, 42, 52, 62, 72, 82. When you use a number grid, it's really easy to count by 10 starting at any number. When you're trying to do it from the top of your head, it's a little bit harder. I always suggest using the number grid as a tool. All right, now our lesson today is actually about using calculators. Now, you don't have a calculator from our classroom at home, and that's okay. There's a couple different choices that you have to use a calculator at home. Maybe your family has a calculator at home. I have this calculator at my house, but I also have calculators in other places. For example, on my phone, I have a calculator feature. On my computer, I have a calculator feature. You might have to ask your parents to help you pull up those features. But if you don't have a calculator or a phone or an iPad or a device with a calculator, you can go to a website, and that's what I'm actually going to show you right now. And I'm going to share my screen so that you can see how we can use a calculator to help us do math. Now, we're not trying to use a calculator so that we can cheat at math, and I certainly don't want you to use a calculator to solve all of your homework questions or anything like that. But a calculator is a good tool to know how to use, not to help you cheat, but just so that you can see how you can program a calculator to help you change numbers. So I'll show you what I mean on my screen here. To www.online-calculator.com. Maybe you can have your parents help you get to that website if you need a calculator, but the website is written right down here at the bottom of my screen. And this is a nice calculator that has all the features we need to do today's lesson. Our lesson is about programming a calculator to skip count. Now, we've been using frames and arrows to show skip counting in our math journal and in yesterday's lesson. Today we're going to use a calculator. So first I want to start by clearing my calculator, and whatever calculator you have has a clear button. This one says CE, so I can press it and make sure that a 0 shows up here. But if you have a calculator at home on your phone or just a regular calculator, it might just say C, or it might say A, C. All of those mean clear, and that's what we want to start with, is a clear calculator. So when I press that, I make sure that there's a 0 here. And now I'm first going to program the calculator to skip count by ones. So to do that, I'm going to tell it plus, so see how my plus lit up here, and then 1, and then I'm going to click equal. So again, that was plus 1 equal. And now I'm not going to press anything else except the equal button again and again and again. And do you see how those numbers are skip counting by ones? Try it for yourself. You should see the numbers going up by 1 every time you click the equal button. If you need to pause your video so that you can try this on your own calculator or your own calculator website, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we know that calculators can count up by ones, but they can also count up by other numbers. I want to make sure my calculator is clear, so it shows a 0 here, and I clicked this CE button, or the clear button, to do that. Now, let's say I want to count up by 2's. Okay, I'm going to press plus 2 equals. Now, after I press plus 2 equal, I can keep pressing equal, and I should see those numbers skip counting by 2's every time I press the equal button. Do you see how we programmed the calculator to skip count by 2's? It's kind of like following the rule for the frames and arrows routine. If the rule was plus 2 and we started with 0, then we could keep adding 2 every time and get all those numbers that I just showed you. Try that for yourself. Again, if you need to pause the video, that is a great idea. All right, let's clear it and try this again. We're going to count by 5's. So to do that, I need to make sure I have a 0 here. Then I will press plus 5 equals, and after I press plus 5 equals, I'm going to keep pressing the equal button. And look, I know how to count by 5's, but I only know how to count so high by 5's. The calculator will keep going as long as I keep pressing the equal button. It'll just keep going and going and going and going. I can get really high counting by 5's on a calculator. Now the last one we're going to do is count up by 10's. So that means I have to press clear. So I have my 0 here. And then I'll press plus, and then I have to type in 10. There's no button that says 10, so I have to type in 1, 0 to make 10. So again, that was plus 1, 0, and then I'll press equal. Every time I press equal, it counts up by 10. Again, I can get really, really high on a calculator counting by 10's. I'm quickly in the 3-digit numbers. And if you try this at home, I bet you'll try to go up really, really, really high because first graders always love that. Another thing you can do with a calculator is start at any number and program the calculator to count up by another number. So let's say I wanted to start at 6. I could type in 6 plus, let's say I wanted to add 3. Again and again and again. I say 6 plus 3 equals, well, 6 plus 3 equals 9, but when I continue to press equals, it keeps counting up by 3. So I can keep counting up by 3 again and again and again because that's what I've programmed my calculator to do. Another example would be if I wanted to start at, say, 8 and count up by 5's. I would type in 8 plus 5 equals, and then I can continue to press the equal sign again and again and again, and it'll keep counting up higher and higher. It will count up higher and faster than I'm probably able to do on my own in my head. When you program the calculator, it's a tool that can help you skip count. Okay, today in your math journal, you're going to be doing page 38 and then posting it on Seesaw. Page 38 says, adding on the number grid. So it says, start at 25, count up 3. Where do you end? So we're not using calculators here. We're using this other math tool, which is the number grid. And you can actually draw hops on this number grid, since it's in your journal, to help you show 25 plus 3. So we're starting with a really big number and adding a small number. and telling what we got when we added those together. Now, there's a bunch more questions here. After you've used your number grid to answer all of them, please post a picture of page 38 in Seesaw. I'll see you tomorrow for another math lesson.